This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
No, this is what it comes down to. The people with authority have to take responsibility for their people. And if the people in authority are hiring people who are liars and are okay with it, that tells you about the people in authority.
Warning! The following podcast contains adult language, adult content, weird and unusual stories that all happen to be true. We didn't start this war on safety, but we're going to fight that safety war and we're going to win it.
What do you do when people lie about you? Today on Safety Wars. If you listen to the Rated R Safety Show this past week, on Thursday, that's by our Chief Safety Officer, Jay Allen, available on Safety FM and on Twitch and on many other platforms. He went into a situation which is now coming to the forefront, but it's always been there, and that is people get angry at other workers, and in the past, maybe workers would have it out, go off-site, have an argument. It would be an underlying thing. They can't work with each other or anything else. Now workers are getting a little bit more, I'll say, sophisticated. But stuff has been going on for a long time if you're a safety professional. We're on episode number 70 here, and you've heard some of the stories in the other 69 episodes. Specifically, this is how it normally goes. I am a safety officer. I go into a facility, and hey, they have the facility. I'm in charge with enforcing the rules. We have to wear masks. You go in there, and hey, you have to wear a mask. People get upset with you. It could happen the other way. You're at a facility where you're working. It could be, when I say facility, it could be workplace. It could be any number of things. And the policy is you don't have to wear masks. And it goes the other way. And I'm not offering an opinion here on masks or not. I think you could pretty much, I've been very nuanced. I think everybody could read what my opinion is here over the last 70 episodes. And if you can't, that's okay too. I accomplished my mission. You could go the other way. Joe is wearing a mask. Joe is making me uncomfortable. Joe's sick. Joe's a weirdo. Blah, 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 blah. And then, all of a sudden, what happens? Today, people go to Human Resources. And they make a complaint against you. And they make things up. It happens all the time. In the past it's been over hard hats. Now it seems to be a lot on this COVID thing. We got one comment from a listener on they had an issue at work with, this is way back before the vaccinations or anything, on the COVID policies. And he said, I didn't realize people hated me so much. People who I was friendly with for many years, I worked with for many years, now tell me how much they have always hated me and they're putting on a show. Not surprising at all. None of this is surprising to me, any of these conflicts. But the answer is this. How do you control this? How do you mitigate this? What do you do? Well, we had a situation a couple years back where we had a multiple employer work site. We had several employers there, and someone came in as a safety officer for another contractor. The other contractor reported to another chain of command than what the general contractor was. They were involved in operations more. So they had a situation where this person was being told to do things. For example, why aren't your workers wearing hard hats? Why aren't your workers wearing fall protection? And me, I was in a situation where I'm the lead safety officer for the job site for the construction end, but we have folks working extremely dangerously in IDLH conditions. So what do you think happened? I'm out for the day. One of my assistants goes out there and says, look, guys gotta wear fall protection. You're like 30 foot up in the air, blah, blah, blah. You gotta do this. How was it turned around? And we have a rule. Since it was an IDLH situation, we had to stop immediately because we consider fall protection and not having it, being exposed to a 30 foot or higher level, that's definitely an IDLH situation. 6 foot or higher is IDLH if you're in construction. Immediately dangerous to life and health for those who don't know. The accusations that this person came up with were outrageous. You're talking overblown. So how do we mitigate this? And it took about a week to sort things out and everything else. What happens is this. Now, most people would say, well, hey, you go to their human resources, you go here, and then this person said this person said that person, it's a nightmare. No, you're not going to get an attorney. If you get an attorney, right up front, they're going to want anywhere from, unless it's pro bono, or they're being very nice, they're going to want anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 up front to handle a lawsuit associated with this. And that's just the way it is. I looked into it. I've asked. What controls do we have in place? We have this thing called a smartphone nowadays. You may have heard of it. We had the following things. One, no one was allowed to talk to this person unless it was in writing, or you had another witness, or let's say in the case of you had no choice to be alone with this person, we ended up having to go with body cameras or with smartphones on record, either audio or video record, all the time with this person. This person knew about these things up front. And when she said, well, why are you doing this? I said, well, because you lied, basically. You basically lied to your human resources. You've lied multiple times with multiple situations. You can make these wild accusations and everything else. So this is why we have to record things. And it was by your choice. And I was very calm and everything else. Human resources ended up getting back to me and asking what the problem was, and as a courtesy, I don't have to answer anybody with them. They're not in my chain of command or anything, and I said to her, look, this is what the situation is. There were some accusations put back and forth. We have them documented. The person that you have on payroll is not very honest, in my opinion, when there's conflict. The person's a nice person, however, when there's conflict, we get all these stories, we have things, so now we have to document. We have text messages, we have emails, we have witnesses. We're not allowed to talk to this person without a witness. This is what it is. And the other thing is this. If I don't enforce the rules, being that this is New York, someone gets hurt, it's on me. It's on everybody at that job site. So the rules are going to be enforced, especially fall protection rules, just the way it is. And I said, by the way, now that you called, how come your guys are using fall protection improperly? Did they not have training? Did they not have a competent person on site? Did they not have do they not have the right equipment? I don't know exactly. Now that I have someone on the phone from the company that's very high up, a vice president of human resources with this very large firm, exactly what's the issue here? Why aren't you? And then all of a sudden, the conversation changed. So this is what I'm going to suggest to everybody. Do you have to go to an extreme? We rarely ever have to go to an extreme with recording people and things of that nature. Recording meetings. Very rarely. However, you have to develop some type of a strategy on how to deal with people who lie about you. It's very frustrating and everything else, but it's a little bit more manageable in today's world. And I think in today's world, it's also, if you're dealing with mature human resources people, they're willing to hear you out a little bit more. But even back in the day, before we had all this technology, we would make sure everything was in writing as much as possible. You have that little logbook that's a bound logbook. You have the pages numbered and you sign the bottom of every page. Back in the day, we used to have those things filled with things. And we'd report things back to our bosses and supervisors, and hopefully you didn't have a problem in the morning and then where you documented, and then in the afternoon you had an accident, because then it would get turned around at, hey, the safety person is at fault because we hired a safety person supposed to be looking at safety. But then we got a little bit smarter over the years with this too. It's in every contract what my responsibilities are, and one of them is, do I have the authority to hire, fire, or discipline anyone at this? And guess what? At that point, most of the problems go away, because it's like this. I document things, I report them. I don't have the authority to hire, fire, or discipline anyone. What do you want from me? At a certain point, this is what it comes down to. The people with authority have to take responsibility for their people. And if the people in authority are hiring people who are liars and are okay with it, that tells you about the people in authority. And I think I'll end it with that. For Safety Wars, this is Jim Posel.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.